Ready?
Justin, middle of the field, 45, 50. Green grass in front of him, leaving Lions in his wake.
I am Jeff Joniak.
Blitz is on. Down he goes! Oscar!
What was it like playing for Coach Ditka?
I don't want to answer any questions like that.
61 yards! A Sunday stroll for Justin Fields.
And
Now, Bears Etc., brought to you by Miller Lite with the voices of the Bears, Jeff Joniak and Tom Thayer.
Practice 12 of a rapidly moving 2023 training camp for Matt Eberflus and his Chicago Bears. Good crowd today up here at Alice Hall, gearing up for the preseason opener Saturday at noon against the Tennessee Titans. Welcome in to Bears Etc., brought to you by Miller Lite. Tastes like Miller time. Chicago, Jeff Joniak, Tom Thayer with you. Tom, how you feeling after watching another training camp practice? They're dwindling. They're dwindling down.
Right, but you know, Jeff, you spend so much time during OTAs in the beginning of training camp, you start stalling a bunch of Bear information, whether you're on offense, defense, or special teams. Then you start getting ready for an opponent. And then there's a little bit more specifics to your preparation. So you may lose some of the information you've already installed, or you may increase the amount that you've already installed, knowing that you're going to use it in the game on Saturday at noon. So, you know, practices have a little bit different tempo because after having all those practices where you're learning Bear information, now you're learning Bear information and how it pertains to an opponent. And so it's a different kind of a mindset that you have going into practice, saying, I got to understand these assignments perfectly because this is going to be my first opportunity to get a chance to see another player, another style of defense, another way they go about their business. But you got to know your assignments and you got to know them well.
Coming up, we got a couple of guests here today. Our good friend from NFL Network, Andrew Siciliano for NFL Plus on the training camp tour here in Chicago today. Detroit yesterday for joint practice sessions with the Giants, so he has some observations. And kind enough to join us off the practice field today, Andrew Billings. Tom, we'll hear from him in just a minute. He's having a good camp and a big space heater inside. Anything draw your eyes to the field today of note?
So, you know, there are guys out there. There's guys in roles that I really like to see and how they're going to offer their experiences up until this point in a game.
Who?
What is their attitude going to be in an opponent? You know, it's Jatari Carter. It's Alex Leatherwood at the offensive guard position. It's Roschon Johnson at the running back position. It's Tyler Scott at the wide receiver position. It's Stevenson and number 32.
Terrell Smith.
Terrell Smith at the defensive back position. And then I'm interested to see Sewell, number 44, at the linebacker position. So, you know, there's a lot of guys that are going to pop into our mind once the game gets here. But there's a lot of guys that we've had to see between 30 and 40 practices, no pads and in pads, to see how all that computes into game competition. Because I think the Tennessee Titans are going to come in here pretty riled up. As we learn that Matt Vrabel is not going to be the head coach, he's going to give it to one of his assistant coaches. And how does he motivate the team coming out of the locker room? How does he focus his point of emphasis that he wants to have a solid reflection of, is it Terrell Williams? Is the name of the coach that's going to coach, is going to get an opportunity to really put his coaching talents on display. And sometimes that's super challenging to the Bears because this guy may have a great inspirational first preseason speech.
All right, so Justin Fields is going to play. Matt Eberflus saying that today. So it's going to be individually tailored to starters. How many reps? Could it be 7 to 10? Could it be 12 to 15? It depends on the individual. I'm not expecting Justin to have 12 to 15, but I could be wrong. But I'm glad to hear it. I got to give you a quote.
Are you hoping he has more?
I wouldn't mind. No, I mean, hey, I don't care.
I want him to have more.
That's fine with me.
You're already
right.
You know, you're already poo-pooing my hope for Justin and quite a few of the starters for that matter.
What do you mean poo-pooing? How many do you want?
I want 20.
Okay.
And I said it now the last couple times that you and I have been together.
Yeah.
I would like to see 20 snaps a game all first, second, and third preseason game.
Something caught my attention today again from Mike Tomlin. They asked him, you know, our guy's going to play. Here was his quote. Ready? If we're going to box, we have to spar. So, gotta get out there.
100%.
Yeah, so that's his philosophy anyway behind preseason playing time. It's different for every coach. Every circumstance is different. A more established team, maybe not so much, but there is still a lot to learn from the Bears. All right, so this popped into my head too. What is, in your opinion, and try to keep away from QB1 because that's what everybody's writing and talking about. What, in your opinion, is the most compelling story right now, halfway through training camp?
You know, how is Darnell Mooney going to fit into the receiver position? Because you got DJ Moore, you got Chase Claypool, you got EQ St. Brown, you got Tyler Scott, you got Bayless Jones Jr., you got Darnell Mooney recovering from an injury. And he's the type of guy that I'd like to see get a couple of extra reps in the preseason to see how his recovery is, how he's fitting into the system, and is he still that go-to receiver that we've grown to know and respect so much? Is Darnell Wright got that temperament to change the thinking and the culture in the offensive line? Is he the type of guy, the type of one body that can have an effect on the other four? Where is this tight end position
Well, I
going
said the most compelling. I gave you one.
Well, I'm giving you, okay, then I.
Well, you know what it is? Listen, I'm going to stop at one because I'm going no further than the offensive line. Right now, the most compelling story, because all that continuity we saw, it hasn't been there. Nate Davis hasn't been there here in a while. Don't know what the situation is. They're not commenting on injuries. Tevin for a minute, Cody for a minute. I just was hoping for that continuity. I know that's wishful thinking in the preseason and in training camp, but
it's not. It really isn't. But, okay, then let's go back to Darnell Wright, because here's a guy that's really had an impact and an influence on me from watching him in his individual work, the way he takes the practice field and the way he goes about business. But he's also in a position that he can make two positions better, and that's the tight end and the offensive guard. So if he has a significant impact on this football team, 2/3 of your offensive line is already better.
All right. And Matt Eberflus says today, hey, I'm really looking forward to, quote, seeing Darnell against an NFL rusher in a live game. And there's a lot that we're looking forward to here. This also prompted me to think about something else. Before we get to that, score huge savings on an impressive lineup of items at Jewel Osco for you. This handy app features hot digital deals on everything from premium produce and savory snacks to butcher fresh meat and more. Get additional details at jewelosco.com. The word anxiety. As you head into your first NFL preseason game and you're a younger player, and even a guy, established veteran who's just trying to stay on this roster, which has turned over significantly in the last 2 years, and trying to make your way, do you have anxiety? Do you have anxiety before a game?
Of course. If you haven't had a lot of time, be in whatever position you play, offense, defense, and the team works during the course of practice, then you better leave a coach with an impression, whether it's head coach, position coach, or the special teams coach, and let them realize that the way you played on a game day field, you are earning more opportunities, more reps, and more snaps. Anxiety, if you're a veteran that's been around for multiple years, do you still have it? Do you still have the desire? Do you still have the impact to be the guy that this coaching staff is searching for? Or is there a rookie that's crawling up your heels? And, there's a lot of factors that go in once you get into that locker room on game day. And I love the fact that it's a noon start on Saturday, because you're not going to have a long day to sit around and think about it. You're going to wake up, you're going to go to the stadium, and you're going to be out there warming up at 10:30, getting ready for a noon kickoff.
And you'll have the exact opposite of that next week when you go to Indy and have nighttime practices. So you're going to be working in meetings all day. You got a 6 o'clock practice. You're going to get home kind of late. You're going to get to bed. Then you got the game at 6 o'clock on Saturday night in Indianapolis. So that'll be fun to watch next week. One of the guys that I'm really intrigued by, and you've brought it more to my attention after watching what's going on in the trenches, is Andrew Billings. And finding a home with the Bears, a new home, because he has been on several teams right now. He started with the Bengals, but he missed his entire rookie season time with meniscus surgery. Then COVID hit. He was an opt-out that year with Cleveland. 6 games played in 21, waived, and then off to the Dolphins and Chiefs practice squads for the rest of 21 before the Raiders last year started 14 games. Now he's ready to rock. He's called by Eberflus Big Bill, and he is Big Bill. Love talking to him. Giant smile on his face, but very serious as he begins a new part of his NFL journey. Bear to a Chicago Bear.
That's right.
You wearing it well?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Got that bear in your blood now, huh?
That's right.
Waco, Texas, born and bred. I know you had a lot of different options out there, and I read a story a long time ago. You know, you were thinking like it'd be best to like leave the area a little bit down there in Waco, experience something new, and Baylor kept bringing it back for you. Yeah. How did that set up your career, being a Baylor?
I mean, it actually set it up very well because Baylor was the only college that allowed me to play D-line. Everybody else wanted me to play center or guard. So.
Wow. What were some of those schools that wanted you to play on the inside there?
For sure, Texas.
Okay.
Like UCLA, basically everybody. I had like 37 offers. And
oh, my gosh.
Baylor was like, you can play wherever you want to play. And you say if it doesn't work out on D-line, then just go to offensive line. But if it works out, you're good.
Had you played offensive line in high school?
Yeah, my whole high school career.
Yeah.
Played right tackle.
Okay. So you had experience. You didn't want to do that? You wanted to be a D? Oh. Tell me why. Give me the reasons.
I wanted my name called. I want my picture on the board.
You want to be in the Mushroom Society, right?
Yeah.
They hide there in that room. Yeah. Oh my gosh, no kidding. Do you think you would have been a good to great center or guard?
Yeah. I dream about it at night, but in the morning I come out here and play football as a D lineman.
That's pretty cool. How would you have been with the shotgun snap? Because that's always more challenging.
I think I would have been fine. I would have figured it out. I mean, it's like anything else. I figured out D line. So
yeah, they always say, Tom Thayer, my broadcast partner here and a Super Bowl Bear on the '85 team, played right guard his whole career. I think he played tight end at Notre Dame for a time and a little defense, but he was born and bred to be an offensive lineman. But first thing, learn how to long snap. Yep. Give you career security, right?
That's true.
Did you ever long snap?
No.
Okay. Didn't do that part. But, hey, we're talking about the big nose tackle here, and your career has carried you to several cities, but this feels to me, just watching you, it feels a little different. Matt Eberflus was saying some great things about you the other day. Do you get that sense? Could this be a place that you literally drop anchor? As a nose tackle, you got to anchor down, take on doubles, do whatever. Does it feel right?
Yeah, no, it feels great, actually. I'm at a point in my career where I have a lot more knowledge than ever before. Like at the Raiders, I played G. Bengals, I played Shade. At the Browns, I was trying to figure out the attack defense. And even I had ups and downs throughout my career, but every place I stopped, I took a little something from there. And I'm able to put all that together here. I mean, I'm playing Shade, G3, like it's all over the place. So I'm able to use all my knowledge, and I think that makes a big difference.
Does it also keep it fresh for you because you don't know where you're going to line up?
Well, you always know where you're going to line up.
Well, you know what I mean, like what they have in mind.
Yeah.
How they're going to deploy you. How about that?
Yeah, no, it does. It does because you're right. It keeps me fresh as in I'm using all these techniques. When I'm at the 3, okay, I have a different alignment. I have almost a different key, whereas I'm at Shade or I'm at 2-eye. It's just in the attack. It's all these things coming together, and it keeps you fresh, like you said. Yeah.
All right. So you're a weight room legend, right down there in Texas, record setting. I brought it up to Tom because he grew up in Joliet, which he was fortunate enough to meet some really great weight training folks. Clyde Emmerich, the weight room's named after him. The legend taught Tom and those '85 Bears. So it was all about the weight room. That's where you guys bonded. That's when you knew you were going to either be a good team or you're not quite sure. Why the weight room so important to you over the course of your life?
It's something I think helps me. I always lift weights after practice, and so it's always my fourth quarter. Because after practice, your body cools down. You're tired, and when you get in there and you put weight on your back, it's all about technique. Mm-hmm. And I've always been big on technique as a powerlifter. Squat was probably my best. And just going in there and just taking the coaching inside there and also applying that to your technique, even though you're tired. I mean, some days it's like, whoo, I just want to skip a set so bad, but you got to fight through that. It's huge. It's all mental. It's the mental part is technique. The physical is the weights, but that's a given.
Yeah, the ideas that come out of that is that the support you get from the guys with you in the weight room, right? Like, you guys are all challenging each other to just be that. I don't think people who love the game, watch NFL football, understand how significant that is. Yeah. How significant is that space for you and for a team?
Yeah, it's very significant. It's the second locker room,
Interesting.
It's where the locker room talk, we call it weight room talk. We listen to music. We're motivating each other. Like, let's go. Hey, good rep. It's just where it's the second push. It's that it's almost like the halftime locker room. You're tired, but you got to go back out there and do more. So it's just that like, hey, let's go. Let's get in here and get these weights. Let's get it over with.
All right. I did write down some of the numbers, but, things may have changed over the course of your life. But state record in powerlifting down there in Texas, 2,010 pounds. That's combined at the state meet. So 500 bench. You ever top it?
Yeah.
What'd you get?
Not much, like 550.
Oh, that's a lot for me. 705 deadlift.
Mm-hmm.
Any higher?
Yeah. I mean, all the
these are high school.
Yeah, but I did more in practice than I did at meets.
Interesting. Okay. What's your? Do you have a memorable moment in weightlifting, private or competition wise, that you're super proud of, and you hit a number that you're like, whoa, I did it?
Honestly, it's the 2010.
Okay.
Because we practice when you go to state powerlifting, you do more than that, like what you were expected to do. So you already know you can get it, because in powerlifting meet, like again, it's all about technique. You can go up and down easily, but if you hitch, red light, you're done. So that was the biggest day of my life, honestly.
Okay.
Back then. But.
Yeah. Still, but hey, it probably set the platform for your professional life.
I think it definitely got me to college football. I don't think, as a 6'1" guy, I don't. People are like, oh, wait, these weight room numbers says he can do it. So,
you tell me how opponents over the course of your career have looked at you. Then, so you got this guy 6'1". Are you overlooked competitively?
No.
Or do they just see that big guy up front?
Yeah, we've always played games in the game. Dude, like, man, you're hard to move. You're hard to block. And even like, oh, man, you can actually pass rush a little bit.
Is that the sneak attack?
Yeah. I'm a nose guard. And that's first and foremost. So it's always about that run game with me. Until you're always going to run the football in football. So it's always going to be a position. I mean, I know it some years it's not needed, and the next 20 years it might come back, but it's always going to be there.
It's needed. Let's be honest. Bears led the league in rushing last year. Yes, Justin had a big part to do with that. But, Khalil Herbert's averaging 5.7 a carry, led the NFL. You need it. I believe you need it to finish. You need it to get that Super Bowl. You just do. I don't think it's ever going out of style. No. And guys like you are not going to go out of style either.
Yeah.
I mean, it's here. I asked Tom about this earlier today in the podcast, and I said, a guy like you got to take on double teams. That's part of that's your lunch bucket. That's what you're doing. How do you take on a double team to make it feel like a one-on-one?
Oh, you just attack the one guy you're lined up on. You see your key, take your key and run him back. When the other guy comes off, then you get rid of that key and find the ball. Basically, there's so many ways to take on double teams. You got to do it the best way you can. For me, I'm low, so it's easy for me to get under him, just take one, and wait till the other guy comes off, snatch back in my gap.
You make it sound so simple and make it look so easy.
It took some years.
Yeah, no question. What's your analysis of what's around you right now on that defensive front?
Yeah, oh man, I love it.
Young Bucks.
Hey, I mean, I've been in the league a while. I've seen a lot of rookies come and go, but I like these guys. They listen because they listen and they understand. And they want to get better every day. I'm not saying that rookies don't want to get better every day, but it's almost like you can tell them, and the next day it's fixed. Or they're really working on it. You can see them working on it. Where, we went out there to the stadium, and it didn't change. It didn't change. They were still working on the same things. Different environment. You get different play.
Yeah.
But they're always on it, man, and I love that. I love that because it challenges me because they come at me with questions and. When I answer the question, I'm like, oh, yeah, I forgot I even knew that. So I can use that for myself, too.
Last thing, and I'll let you go. I appreciate the time very much and hope to talk to you again. So you were 20, I believe, when you entered the NFL. Jervon Dexter, whom I talked to yesterday for our other show, Bears Weekly, 21 years of age. What could you tell your 20, 21-year-old self right now that will help him?
For him, man, it's just, honestly, always come off the rock. Whether you don't know what you're doing or you don't know what they're about to do. You line up in there, just come off the rock because this is your rookie year and you can't coach effort. So if you come off full speed, we can coach that. because the guys, they get nervous and they get a little hesitation. I said, don't put it on there. Don't put no hesitation on film and just come off the rock. And if you're wrong, we'll fix it. But as long as you're in the backfield, nobody's really going to be that mad.
Exactly. Hey, thank you so much.
Oh, yeah.
Wonderful. Good luck
you.
with this season.
Thank you.
All right, Tom, what'd you think of Mr. Billings?
Well, first of all, when you talk about him being Big Bill, that's the same thing Mike Ditka used to call William Perry. Huh. When he didn't want to call him William, he called him Big Bill. So it kind of, it kind of brings back memories. However, the thing that really interests me about Billings was all the no padded practices that we've seen him go through. He's a compact athlete that brings a lot of firepower, a lot of strength, and low leverage. But I wanted to see if that computed into full pads. And so then when they went into full pads and you got to see one-on-ones and you got to see some inner offensive line work, it was able to transfer. It went from a no pad athlete to a fully padded athlete that brought the same leverage and the same strength. And then when you get a chance to hear about him, because, hey, as much as we're around him, sometimes this is our first exposure to a player is when you get a chance to have that conversation. And I love everything I heard. I like his commitment to the game. I like the fact that one time he was thought of being a possible offensive lineman, but he stuck to his guns and said, look, I'm a defensive lineman. That's where I'm going to play. And he was able to make his mark, leave his mark, and earn his mark. And I like the fact that he's a weight room guy, Jeff, because I think one weight room guy can have a tremendous influence inside a football team, not only other defensive linemen.
Yeah, these guys do lift after practice certain days, obviously, depending on the schedule, but I like how he referred to it as his fourth quarter. That's the fourth quarter. You're tired, you got to go out there, and now you got to pump iron. That was good for me.
That was guys like Ming. Steve McMichael was a post-practice weightlifter. I was always a guy that I like to lift before practice because I'd like to get that fatiguing part in the warm-up part out of the way. Then I'd go out in the practice field and I felt ready to go.
No, you just wanted the pump to you look more intimidating to the guys on the other side of the ball, even though that was not possible.
Right. I don't think tight sleeves is going to be any type of influence against the defensive lineman I was playing against. But, I think everybody picks and chooses the time where they feel the best. And so I'm really excited to see the future growth and potential of Andrew Billings. And I loved your interview with him, and I feel even though I haven't talked to him face to face, but I know him better because of your interview.
Chris Kiffin, who was a defensive line coach there in Cleveland, Monty Kiffin's son, called him the strongest guy he'd ever seen. NFL.com called him college football's strongest player. A lot of great stuff from him because as an 18-year-old at Waco High School, he broke former Olympian Mark Henry's powerlifting records. And as you heard from Billings, it's a signature moment in his life at the age of 18.
Oh, yeah. Well, if any athlete knows who Mark Henry is, they know the enormity of his strength and what an impression he must have left on Andrew Billings and then go to break his record. It's hard work. And that's the thing about it. Yeah, you may go and have an enormous bench once, but the 250,000 reps it took you throughout the course of your lifetime to get to as strong as you can possibly get. There's a lot of wake in your background of lifts that you had to do to become and stay competitive.
This is Bears Etc. with Tom Thayer, Jeff Joniak, and we're brought to you by PNC, official bank of the Bears. Saw the folks in the PNC family today up in the viewing suite of Fields 1 and 2 here at Hallis. Scott Swanson, always a great host for us, Tom. He really enjoys the football conversation. I love that group.
It makes me feel bad because Scott Swanson's always in better shape than you and I. You try to give him a nice pat on the back.
The handshake,
like a brick wall.
Forget about the pat on the back. The handshake, Tom. It's legit.
I'm always a back slapper though when I see someone for the first time. I'm a handshake and a slap on the back. Pat the Entertainer, who's part of our broadcast, I gave him a slap on the back when I saw him at the first training camp practice, and he took note of it.
All right, let's talk about agitation. Let's talk about agitation and its place in training camp. Your teammates, but tempers do fly. And at the center of it, when he's been on the field right now, DeMarcus Walker has been out a few practices. He's been loud, and I've said this before. A loud defense, I think, is a good thing. Chase Claypool's been that guy on the off again today, mixing it up with Tyreek Stevenson. Overall, how do you feel about it? You have any issue with it? as long as it doesn't draw flags in a game, I certainly don't. I don't have a lot of issue with it.
I love it because I love the antagonistic approach to making other players better. And the way it does is if you have a guy like Walker out there that may be out there and kind of shooting some gums out there and, talking crap to the offensive line.
Ear hustling, I call it. Ear hustling.
Yeah, he hustles it plenty, and I'm glad because the offensive linemen give him a reaction, and then it kind of takes you to tempo 1 immediately to tempo 3 because you got that John. And then you look at Chase Claypool and what he does after the catch, and he makes defensive backs come up and hit him, but he's willing to lower a shoulder and deliver a shot himself. Or he's got some interior blocking responsibilities that he takes it to the nth degree. I love it because players have their head on a swivel. They realize if Chase is inside the formation, he's coming in motion, or he's going to catch a pass downfield, you better be ready if he has the ball in his hands. And I just think it's a eye-opening experience for veterans that need to see that or young guys that got to be aware of it.
United Airlines, the official airlines of the Chicago Bears, a part of our Bears Etc. podcast. Oh, okay, let's talk about the running game a little bit because we are seeing some things from Roschon Johnson. Yes, he's missed a couple days, nothing significant, but when he's running the football, he's finishing his runs, Tom. He's finishing runs usually with a big collision and guys are going backwards. Now, granted, they're not tackling, not bringing guys to the ground, but thudding up has become a little more significant with Roschon with the ball in his hands, number 30.
Yeah. One thing about the running game, if anybody thinks that it's lesser important than any time it has been in the history of the NFL, you're really losing thought of how important the running game is. It's probably the most important element to an offense that gives you options and opportunities to do so many different things. But a running game has to be respected. And from the respect that the Bears running game had last year, it really did fit in nicely to what it can do in the future. And Chris Morgan, the offensive line coach, has got a lot on his plate with the offensive line. But then you have a solid group of running backs back there that are all talented runners. They all give you something a little different. It's going to be interesting to see how that pattern falls into place. But, point of emphasis in this division, in this league, the running game has got to have as an important role as any other phase of football.
And stopping it as well. So he's one of the guys on your radar. We'll get some more guys on the radar, but that leads me into our conversation with Andrew Siciliano, my good friend from NFL Network. He does a great job. He's been touring camps and has visited the Detroit Lions. We'll talk about that and more in our sit-down with Andrew. With Andrew Siciliano from NFL Network and NFL Plus. Got to get the plus in there.
Well, we have the plus shirts on today. Yes,
I see that.
Yes, always great to rush to the airport after doing a show somewhere, and you're a moving billboard on the people.
You are, but you're very recognizable for a lot of reasons. A lot of reasons, my man.
You've had this job for how many years now?
Yeah, this is 23, 27 with the team.
You are quite recognizable.
Yeah, but on a national basis,
anywhere in Chicago, you open your mouth to order your coffee in the morning, right? People are going to go, that's Jeff Joniak.
That is true, and it does happen, but your voice is nationally and internationally distinctive.
Internationally?
Yes. Okay, first of all, you do travel a ton in the off-season. You always go on some journey. I believe you do a lot of solo trips and hikes and clearing your mind. How often do you get noticed or recognized internationally, and what's your best story?
I don't know that I have a great story about being recognized internationally, but it does usually happen once or twice a trip. It's always by an American, obviously. That's also traveling. It's not like you're in the middle of some foreign land and
it's happened to me in London,
and a local comes up. I maybe that's happened once or twice. I'm trying to think. No, you know what? It has happened.
It's happened.
It happened in Germany because they love their football in Germany. Absolutely, yeah. That was the one time.
Let's pick up the baton on that because obviously the NFL continues to expand and explore international, and there's all sorts of theories about what's next down the road. But the Germany angle blows my mind because they're buying up tickets the moment they drop.
Sure.
And the wait list to get them is insane. What are we talking about here?
Well, I mean, it happened too when years and years and years ago we started doing the international series in London. I think any new country in which the NFL plants its flag will likely see some kind of similar rush for tickets and new love for the game. But Germany is one where they've loved it for years. I mean, go back to the old
the Bears were there, too.
Sure. Why am I drawing a blank? What was the old European league called?
The World League of American Football
exactly.
is one, and NFL Europe.
NFL Europe,
Yeah.
right. Go back to NFL Europe. Obviously, Germany was a huge hotspot. Germany, London, Barcelona was the one that everyone wanted the assignment for. Talk to anybody, anyone on the TV side, anyone on the football side. Barcelona was the place to be. You wanted to be or to cover a dragon. But I don't think it's going to slow down. I don't know what the next stop is. Obviously, with territorial rights, a lot of teams are marketing in Mexico. We played many games at Estadio Azteca. Right now that's being renovated, and they're taking a pause on that. Years ago, talked about going to China. I don't know if the current climate allows us to go there anytime soon, but the expansion's only going to keep going.
Andrew Siciliano from NFL Network, my longtime friend. We worked together.
I used to sit in this room every day.
Yes, we're at Hallis Hall in my, I would call it the closet. There are no windows. It's my little cave. Turn the lights down low and start working.
But
That's about it.
You love this because you can close the door and have some privacy.
It's peace and quiet, man.
Yeah.
It's peace and quiet. There are a lot of great memories in this building, obviously. And yes, Andrew put together something in our radio broadcast back in the day when we were working at WMAQ Radio, which is now The Score in Chicago, 670. It was Bear Tracks, it was called. And he, unsolicited, would go out and purchase 45s, tapes, and whatever you could get to add a music bed to his theme, and they were simply outstanding. To the point that my old boss, Rod Zimmerman, used to say, hey, do we really need all that? Do we really need to put in all that effort? Because it costs some money to do, and I'm sure you never saw a penny. But they were great. It was a recap of the weekend, a look forward, but it was humorous, it was intelligent, it was creative.
Well, thank you. I had a lot of fun doing it. Some of them I did here. A lot of them I did on the old reel-to-reel machines at NBC Tower.
Gosh, we're
on
old.
Friday nights with razor blades and tape and
the grease pencil
and splicing them together. And I had a lot of fun. I had my 4 minutes on the pregame. I wanted to make sure they were good.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was fabulous. It was, and I'm not just saying
they were
that.
fun.
I mean, you know, I loved it, and you took it serious. Like
I said, it was my 4 minutes, right? Like people say, "Oh, you cover the Bears in the late '90s." I mean, in reality, I was a human mic stand on a lot of days as well. You had so many great veteran reporters who were on that beat, and I was still trying to get my feet wet in this business. Those were my 4 minutes to stand out, to show some creativity, and it was a different era. It was Wani. I was here. I think maybe for 1 year at Dick Duran.
Possibly.
I mean, I started.
Possibly.
I was just telling. I started in the old building at Lake Forest in '96, my first year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dan Bernstein and I used to stand there and watch practice.
Oh my gosh. Wow, that is fantastic.
Bears beat reporter Dan Bernstein and I used to stand there and watch practice at the old building when Brian Cox was roaming the sideline.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Once bought the entire plane, stone crab, and served it to all employees after the Cleveland World Series loss to Miami. Our game was moved because of that.
Right.
Game 7. And we had to move to I believe, a Tuesday night. And Brian Cox bought the crab and served it on the plane to every player and coach and traveling member. It was amazing. I've never seen that before or since, Andrew. Never have it.
As an Indians fan, and you are too, I'm still mad at Tony Fernandez for booting the ball in the ninth inning. And I didn't watch all of Game 6 because I was at Josh Liss's wedding.
Oh, my gosh. The stories keep on coming. All right, Andrew Siciliano from NFL Network, a man who wears many hats. He does the preseason games for the Los Angeles Rams, but he's also traveling to training camps. I know you were in Detroit this week to see the Giants and the co-practices. There's all sorts of intrigue. They've got our attention up there in Michigan. What can you tell us about the Lions?
Tell you what, the defense looked a heck of a lot better yesterday. Granted, it's a joint practice, day 1 of 2 days of joint practice against Daniel Jones and that Giants offense. I mean, obviously the defense was a huge sore spot last year for the Lions. They've got to get better. They showed a little momentum, got a little bit better second half of the year. But they've added a lot of pieces to the secondary. Brian Branch in the slot, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson at safety. Emmanuel Mosley hasn't even really gotten onto the field yet. Added Jack Campbell at linebacker, but they like what they have up front. And remember, last year they gave Daniel Jones his worst game of the year. Picked him off twice. He threw only 5 picks all year. 2 of them came to the Lions. They shut down Saquon. Now, to be fair, Evan Neal is in concussion protocol. He wasn't out there yesterday. They move Hutchinson around a lot, sometimes picking on Matt Parrott a bit. But I think that Lions defense is going to be noticeably better than it was a year ago. There are, I think in each of the last 6 or 7 years, there is an example, and I'm kind of making this up, I got to double check it, of a defense going from bottom 5 to top 5 or bottom 10 to top 10. The Lions think they have the pieces to make that leap. You know, one joint practice doesn't truly tell the story. Offensively,
Jahmyr Gibbs. I saw some highlights. Linebackers trying to cover him on a wheel route. Forget about it.
No. Forget about it. And Jamison Williams, they're just kind of working him into team. Jared Goff told me, we're on the same page. Some days look better than others. He took a personal day Saturday. He was out there. I didn't get a chance to see it much. We were doing the show. But remember, he's not there the first 6 weeks. Marvin Jones is back. Sam Laporta, they love.
Yeah.
The rookie tight end,
they
love.
Now.
They definitely need him now with Zylstra hurt. So does momentum carry over?
Sometimes.
It's
culture.
Hey, I told Jared Goff yesterday, remember, you are 1-0 against Patrick Mahomes, the 54-51 Classic in 2018. So.
And this guy has no notes, by the way. I'm sitting here with him, and he's just rattling his stuff.
I was at that game.
This is called preparation. That's the definition of success.
It's called doing
success or preparation meets opportunity.
It's called doing a 4-hour show on these two teams yesterday.
Right. You got the Bears here. Yeah. This is pre-practice, so you haven't seen them yet. What are you looking for?
You would know more about the injury situation. Obviously, a lot of the pieces on the defensive side right now are banged up.
Yeah, just a bang up.
It's just a bang up. Nothing too serious. Look, they spent a lot of money in the offseason on the defense. Speaking of how bad the defense was, obviously last year.
There were 15 defensive linemen in camp last year, as there are this year. Only 3 are left.
Okay.
So, you can go on the whole roster and look at different positions, and that's the case.
I don't think the Bears' defense needs to go worst to first.
No.
But what it does need to do is take a massive step forward. I mean, imagine how much better this team would be if you can get into the middle of the pack defensively, right?
It'll help out your quarterback.
It helps out your quarterback. It allows you to rely more on that run game, right? And it gives him a chance to develop. I mean, you tell me, is the chemistry between Fields and DJ Moore everything that it's made out to be?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I mean, I'll tell you, I watched a lot of DJ Moore, but until you're up close, you see the suddenness when he makes a catch and he just puts his foot in the dirt and he's gone. He's like end zone. He just got a great explosiveness to him and smooth as butter. He is outstanding.
I remember having a conversation with him at the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, and remember there was that whole Free Odell campaign, right? And I said, dude, like, why isn't there like a free DJ Moore campaign?
10 different quarterbacks.
Right.
1,000-yard seasons despite that fact.
So maybe here, right, you get that unlocked. I'm curious. I know he's also a bit banged up to see Roshan Johnson on the field. Had him at the Senior Bowl, at least for a minute. I'm really curious.
Listen, he put the pads
him.
on for Family Fest, and then we're not bringing anybody to the ground, but he initiates and enjoys contact. He put a DB on his back in the stadium. I'm like, whoa, that got my attention.
He's a former Elite 11 quarterback too, which is absurd.
Super guy. I had a 45-minute conversation with him after minicamp, just going through his life for a feature we do here, 1920 Football Drive, and wow, I came away impressed about the individual, let alone the football, but he is totally dialed in on being great. So,
and real quick, I know my guy Brian Baldinger is exceedingly excited today to see Darnell Wright.
Oh, you talking about a man right there. 5'8", can't miss him. Big, fleet of foot, athletic, and he's got a little nasty. Take a look at his face when he goes out to practice.
Okay,
got a little nasty. Andrew Siciliano from NFL Network, NFL Plus, and all things NFL. Appreciate it, my friend.
I appreciate you.
Well, Tom, as you heard Andrew talking significantly, sensing that the Detroit Lions defense is building to something significant. It's got that attitude now on the back end with some of those DBs. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, certainly one of those guys. Aiden Hutchinson in a second year. We saw James Houston, what he did last year, coming on when he came in there. after being injured and just rushing the passer ferociously, even against the Bears, had a couple of sacks. So what is your take on that right now?
Well, Andrew's in a lot different position than you and I are. You and I cover the Bears, and we talk to a lot of Bears personnel. Andrew is involved in the league, and he talks to people all around the league. So when he does those sit-down interviews throughout his training camp roundabout, he gets fed and given a lot more information about the team than we would possibly. But, you got to respect what the Detroit Lions did last year. You got to respect their attitude. They have, the makings of a solid team, and they brought in some good draft choices. But you never know what they're going to do in the second year of high expectations. Could you get to Jared Goff, a quarterback that doesn't have great elusiveness, but he can throw the ball well? So how do you attack that? And then you're going to have to be responsible for going into an environment when you do play in Detroit. I think it's going to be a really hostile environment this year. And then how can you slow down that defense that has some playmakers up front? And so, you're going to have concern from every team in the division, but there are a lot of complimentary things being thrown around by by Andrew and his crew to anybody else who talks about football.
Game day snacking calls for good foods, chunky guacamole made with Hass avocados, tomatoes, onions, cilantro, and a squeeze of lime juice. It's the perfect snack to watch while the Bears win. Score some today at your local grocery store. Game day is guac day. You a guac fan, Tom? Do you make your own?
No, I'm more likely to eat a whole avocado.
Okay.
But I do love guacamole, and I would eat it all day.
Yeah, me too. I'd be chipping and dipping, that's for sure. Let's talk about some of the guys on your radar. 15, P.J. Walker. We'll do quick hitters here, Tommy, on this as we wind down our show today. P.J. Walker, the backup quarterback, he'd definitely be on the field on Saturday.
Right. One thing I like about P.J. Walker, he's got a lot of similarities to Justin Fields. And so when Luke Getsy and whomever is calling the offensive plays, there's a lot of similarity between the two. So I'm excited to see what P.J. Walker does with his preseason opportunities.
Jatari Carter getting a lot of snaps at right guard right now.
Right guard and left guard, because there's been, Tevin, has had, a couple interruptions during practice, and so has Nate Davis. So Jatari Carter, if you're ever going to fight for a starting opportunity this early in your career, this is a training camp you can do it in.
13, Tyler Scott.
Speed. I like what he's bringing. He's a really good receiver. I think that he's going to give you options and opportunities with DJ Moore and Darnell Mooney to run a lot of different receiver games. And Tyler Scott, I think, will captivate some interest around the league.
On the defensive side of the ball, corner Terrell Smith.
It's unique because, when you look at the cornerback position, and I said today when we were meeting the PNC people, I think cornerback is the second most difficult position on the football field. And so when you have an opportunity to find these diamonds in the roughs and maybe some later draft choices, and all of a sudden they open your eyes not only for 1, 2, 3 days, but maybe 1, 2, 3 weeks, you got to, have some interest in that guy, because it's a difficult position to find out there unless you're a true 5-star guy coming out of college.
All right, I'm going to group these three guys, so give them a quick hit. Jalen Harris, the undrafted rookie outside defensive end. Jalen Harris, the former let me start over there. 3, 2, 1. All right, time. Finally, we'll wrap up with these three all together. Jalen Harris, undrafted defensive end. Sean Harris' son, the former Chicago Bear. Travis Bell, the late-round draft pick out of Kennesaw State, and inside defensive tackle. And Terrell Lewis, who was a 5-star player recruited to Alabama, and he is flashing a lot of good stuff.
Jalen Harris and Terrell Lewis, they have a similar template body shape. They're tall, they're lean, they can get off the ball, they can separate from defensive linemen, they run really well. I think they're multi-talented, but again, game day competition, that's where I need to see him. And Travis Bell, he's another guy a little bit like Andrew Billings. He's got a low center of gravity. He's a powerful guy. He hasn't really seen talent like he's going to see going forward from Kennesaw State. So we got to see how he matches up with the talent that he's going to see in a whole different spectrum that he's seen up until this point in his football career.
6'309", Billings 6'1.5", 6 foot and 5/8, 329. So very interesting. Hey, that's going to wrap things up today. Miller Lite, the official beer of the Chicago Bears, tastes like Miller time, Chicago. And thanks to United Airlines, official airlines of the Chicago Bears. All right, that's going to wrap up today's show. Tom, we'll talk to you next week on Bears, etc.
Looking forward to it, Big Jeff.
And we'll have a kickoff noon Saturday. Soldier Field, Bears and Titans, and our new flagship home of the Bears, ESPN 1000 and the Bears Radio Network. And thanks for listening, everybody. Please subscribe now on the Chicago Bears official app, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Have a great day.